Deep in the heart of Grizzlewood Forest, where the trees grew so close together they told each other secrets, lived a tribe of very serious goblins. Their leader was a grumpy old goblin named Grumble. He had a long list of rules carved on a mossy stone, and the most important rule was rule number 1, no giggling. Giggling, Grumble said, is undignified. It is noisy. It is disruptive. A proper goblin must be grim and gruff. The goblins did their best. They stomped around with sour faces. They muttered and they scowled. They practiced their groans and their grumbles. But secretly, many of them found it very hard. A wiggly worm could seem funny. A dancing butterfly could be hilarious. But they held their laughter in, their cheeks puffing out and their tummy muscles aching from the effort. One young goblin named Pip was the worst at being serious. His nose wiggled when he tried not to laugh, and he often had to stuff his fist in his mouth to stop a chuckle from escaping. He thought the world was a wonderfully funny place, and it was a constant struggle to keep it to himself. The biggest event of the Goblin year was the Solemn Ceremony of the Gloom Bloom. A single sad-looking flower that wept dewdrops would bloom at midnight, and the goblins had to perform a ritual of utmost seriousness to ensure the forest stayed properly gloomy for another year. This year, Grumble had chosen Pip to be the keeper of the sacred sigh. It was a great honor, and Pip was determined not to mess it up. He practiced his sighs. He practiced his slow, mournful walk. He even tried to think of sad thoughts, like melted ice cream or lost socks. The night of the ceremony arrived. All the goblins gathered in a circle around the Gloom Bloom's bud. They wore their most frownful expressions. Grumble began the chant in a low, droning voice. "Oh, flower of gloom, in this dark clearing, grant us another year of... Grumble stopped. A small, fuzzy, bright pink spider was lowering itself from a tree branch right in front of his face. It wiggled its 8 fuzzy legs in a jaunty little dance. The goblins stared. They had never seen a pink spider before. It was so silly looking. A strange sound escaped from Pip. It was a squeak. He tried to turn it into a cough, but it was too late. Another goblin, seeing the spider tap dance on its thread, let out a snort. The snort sounded so ridiculous that a third goblin felt a giggle bubble up in his throat. Grumble's face turned purple with rage. "Silence!" he boomed. But as he yelled, the pink spider, startled, dropped onto his head and started weaving a tiny pink web over his left horn. Pip looked at his mighty leader with a lopsided pink web hat. He looked at the spider, now taking a bow. He thought about all the times he had to hold in his laughter. A giggle burst out of him, then a chortle, then a full-bellied, knee-slapping, tear-streaming laugh. It was like a dam breaking. One by one, every single goblin in the clearing succumbed. They laughed so hard they fell over. They laughed so hard they snorted. They laughed so hard they hiccuped. The great goblin giggle fit had begun. They laughed at the funny shapes of the clouds. They laughed at the way their own feet wiggled. They laughed until their grumpy faces hurt from smiling. And something magical happened. As they laughed, the Gloom Bloom began to change. Its gray petals shimmered, turning a soft, happy blue. The dewdrops it wept began to sparkle like diamonds, and instead of a sad scent, it released a fragrance that smelled like bubbling soda and fresh-baked cookies. It was no longer a Gloom Bloom. It was a Giggle Bloom. Grumble was about to yell again when a giggle somehow escaped his own lips. It was a rusty, surprised sound, like a door that had not been opened in 100 years. He tried to stop it, but another one came, and then another. Soon, the mighty leader was laughing louder than anyone, holding his big belly and wiping joyful tears from his eyes. "Oh my," he wheezed, his grumpy rules completely forgotten. From that day on, Grizzlewood Forest was a much happier place. The goblins still did their goblin things, but now they did them with laughter and giggles. The new rule number 1, carved right over the old one, was simply, find something to giggle about every day. The Giggle Bloom never faded, and its happy scent reminded everyone that even the grumpiest among us just needs a good laugh sometimes. Pip was declared a hero, not for being solemn, but for finally letting the forest's joy burst out into the open, one giggle at a time.